Once again, it's a pleasure to be able to share a message with you from this week's Parsha, Parshiot Tazria Metzora. It's often a difficult Parsha, but Noam Elimelech, one of the great Hasidic masters, Elimelech of Lizhinsk, teaches a wonderful lesson that I think is most applicable. A couple weeks ago, a gentleman from our congregation came to see me, and he said that we had had a conversation years ago that enlightened him in some way. And truthfully, I didn't remember the conversation at all. So he went on to remind me that when his wife had passed away, he was devastated. And though he was raised in a religious home, and that he had some wonderful synagogue skills, he found the practice of saying Kaddish to be meaningless to him. And though I didn't remember, he reminded me that at the time I said to him, you just keep coming, and the practice will follow. And after the practice follows, meaning will come. And I didn't remember this one little brief conversation, but he reminded me. And I was pleased that I was able to offer him some insight, because he said to me that that's in fact what really happened. That one little sentence of encouragement allowed him to keep coming back to the synagogue, and eventually he found some consolation in the minyan, and he also understood the deep meaning of our tradition. Noam Elimelech, at the beginning of this week's Parsha, points to the idea of ki Tazria, that when somebody gives birth, that they are shut out from the people for a little while. It's not so much shut out as it's an opportunity for a person to gain some recovery. That after childbirth, a woman needs some time to recover. She needs some time to be left alone. But he focuses on the word Tazria, which he says comes from the same word lizroa, to plant. And it's true. It's this idea of planting something that is extraordinary. Noam Elimelech says that the righteous people are those who plant little seeds of goodness and kindness and holiness in the world. He says that by a simple phrase or a simple idea, we can elevate the conversation. So often in our lives, we engage in conversations that are meaningless. If we can just change the conversation a little bit, change the discussion just an iota, we can plant seeds for a more elevated interaction. Noam Elimelech says that's the job of the righteous, is to plant seeds in the world, calling on the phrase or zarua la tzadik uli shreilev simcha, that the righteous plants seeds. He's suggesting that with just one small word, one small phrase, anybody has the opportunity to become a tzaddik, a righteous person. And so it's all about planting seeds. If you look outside now, the beautiful trees are in bloom. If you look closely at the ground, you begin to see saplings beginning to break forth into the world. It's not possible to have imagined months ago, in the midst of winter, when the ground was covered with snow, that anything would ever grow from that ground. But having experienced the season before that, maybe the fall that had existed before that winter, when seeds fell from the trees and were planted in the ground, that ultimately something great would come. For Noam Elimelech, the idea of childbirth is not just about bringing children into the world, though there is something wonderful in seeing a child grow into a full-fledged person. It's about what we do with each other. Whether we're married or not, whether we're parents or not, we each have the opportunity to plant seeds of greatness in the world by the way we speak to one another. Noam Elimelech says that our words can be harsh, and they can be filled with gossip, or they can be kind and filled with hope. And in that way, we all become planters. We all have the opportunity to sow seeds of greatness in the world. I pray that the words we use with each other this week are words of kindness, of growth, of holiness, and then we have the patience to watch what will bloom. Have a wonderful week.